COVID-19 continues to be a topic of politics, both on a national level and here in Georgia. No end to that. And today we have learned that Governor Kemp and Georgia's First Lady now are under quarantine tonight, while a Georgia congressman announced he tested positive. 11 Alive's Naima Abdullahi looks into the ongoing conversation of how COVID and politics intersect.
COVID-19 during the campaign season, politics during the pandemic.
This unprecedented election cycle continues to show how elected officials are also impacted by the virus, along with millions of people nationwide. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp and his wife are now under quarantine after being around someone who was exposed to the virus. The governor says he and his wife have tested negative. And Georgia Congressman Drew Ferguson announced he tested positive for COVID-19 after experiencing mild symptoms.
The whole medical community just wants to get through this pandemic with as little loss of life as possible. We have seen celebrities, athletes, this virus, doesn't care who you are.
11 Alive medical correspondent Dr. Sujatha Reddy says COVID-19 continues to be a global crisis. And as it continues to be a hot topic in politics, the pandemic hasn't slowed down large crowds during peaceful protests, political rallies, or for early voting. 11 Alive political analyst Andra Gillespie says people are passionate now more than ever, and politicians feel the need to engage with voters.
And so campaigns had to make a decision about whether or not they were going to send campaigners out into the field and what types of gatherings they were going to hold. And we've also seen some campaigns take the stance that it might actually be worth a risk.
As the countdown to Election Day continues, so will the campaign stops and rallies. Both President Donald Trump and Senator Kamala Harris will be in Georgia this Sunday.